Hello everyone. In a spectacle that has spiraled far beyond any royal fairy tale, Meghan Markle with her endless PR plays has reached new heights of audacity. Now, if recent reports are to be believed, she's dangling Archie and Lilibet like pawns on a chessboard, using them as bargaining chips with King Charles. Imagine the nerve suddenly after all her insistence on privacy and protection. She's willing to allow her children to meet their grandfather, but of course only on her terms. You've got to wonder, is there any depth she won't plumb for a headline? And the timing impeccable as always, just as murmurs swirl around a potential ultimatum from King Charles, Meghan rolls out this family reunion narrative wrapped neatly in a vow of manufactured generosity. Her critics might call it a power play, a preemptive strike to steer public sympathy. The rest of us might call it a predictable stunt. Who does she think she's fooling? 4. Those who have followed this saga, Archie and Lilibet's ghostly appearances have only added fuel to the fire of doubt. We get fleeting, inconsistent glimpses of them, enough to keep them in the public eye, but never enough to quiet the skeptics. Body language experts and photo analysts have a field day. Every time a new image surfaces, each one contradicting the last one day, they look one way and the next they look completely different. Are we watching a royal shape-shifting act or just a masterclass in media manipulation? Meghan's critics have their theories and none of them paint her in a flattering light. And then there's the irony of Meghan now fretting that Harry might be manipulated back into the royal fold without her. The same Meghan who has meticulously cut him off from his family, who has crafted a narrative that paints his relatives as villains, now fears they might sway him. That's rich. A classic case of projection, perhaps with a master manipulator fears being played at her own game. Then we hear about the latest twist. A shiny new property in Portugal perfectly timed to add yet another layer to this bewildering saga. Oh, but of course it's all about making family visits easier. How convenient. Just as public scrutiny of Archie and Lilibet's existence hits a boiling point, Meghan now conveniently dangles a European base as if that somehow justifies the ongoing mystery surrounding her children. Easier indeed, but easier for whom? Easier than proving they actually exist. The secrecy surrounding Archie and lies, whereabouts, and appearances has fueled endless speculation. If these children were genuinely part of the family, wouldn't King Charles and Queen Camilla have had ample opportunities to spend time with them? Meghan's ever-present security concerns only serve to raise more eyebrows. What is she really protecting here? The kids are her narrative for children who are hardly seen by the public. The level of so-called protection starts to feel more like a smokescreen. Something to preserve the mystique rather than provide actual safety. After all, even the most dedicated royal fans struggle to keep up with these elusive youngsters. The real kicker, though, is the absurdity of it all. The grand public relations theater where Meghan seems to be playing puppet, master tugging its strings, orchestrating every move. Our real families don't need negotiation strategies or PR packages to connect. They simply do. Yet here we are watching Meghan Markle turn family relationships into her personal power game, as if she's the only one capable of deciding who has access to her children. And the goal of Meghan to act as though she's extending some magnanimous offer to the king is a new low. Even for her, let's call it what it is, a calculated attempt to wield Archie and Lilibet as leverage to cement her control over the situation. Every action, every carefully planned sighting, every so-called offer drips with the intent to control the narrative, to manipulate perceptions, her alleged worries about Harry being manipulated. It's almost comedic, given that she's built an entire empire on controlling him, on reshaping his world into one where she holds all the power. Then there's the elephant in the room, their elusive residence in Portugal. With the timing, one might almost think it's a prop, a convenient addition to the never-ending performance. The pretense of making family reunions more accessible only serves to deepen the mystery. Adding yet another layer of opacity, the royal family for their part stands in dignified silence, observing as Meghan's sideshow barrels forward. Harry, who once proudly upheld royal values, now appears as a mere bystander. In this elaborate charade, a man who once championed family connections, he's now seemingly entangled in Meghan's game, a supporting player in a drama that feels more like a tabloid soap opera than real life. It's difficult not to feel that he's caught in a web of manipulation, perhaps without even realizing it. With every twist in the saga, the truth about Archie and Lilibet feels more distant, shrouded in layers of PR fabrications and suspiciously timed. Offers to the king. Meghan's concern for their family ties feels more like a tactic to maintain her hold over the narrative than a genuine attempt to build bridges. and as the palace maintains its silence, leaving the public to speculate. One thing is clear. The final revelation of this family mystery promises to be one for the ages, an explosive finale to the most baffling royal story of our time. The Meghan and Harry saga has taken so many unexpected twists that it feels more like a scripted melodrama than anything approaching real life, but this isn't a fictional thriller, it's the tangled web they've spun in the public eye. Each new development met with a heady mix of disbelief, intrigue, and for some well-earned skepticism. With Meghan's latest reported antics of strategically controlling her children's royal access, we are left wondering, at what point does this entire operation stop feeling like a bizarre publicity performance and start to feel perhaps a bit sinister? If there's one thing Meghan Markle does with impressive flair, it's maintaining her role as director of this public relations opera. Now she's letting on that. Maybe just maybe Archie and Lilibet might meet their grandfather, but don't be fooled by the seemingly grand gesture. As with everything else, there's a catch. This supposed offer is a loaded gift offered on a platter of stipulations and unsurprisingly control. Meghan's every move seems calculated to remind us that nothing happens without her. So that she's the master behind every headline, every leak, and every drip of information that trickles out, in the way she holds Archie and Lilibet's presence as a bargaining chip. It's classic Meghan leveraging her kids as if they're a pair of mystical unseen royals whom she alone can conjure. But what exactly is she hoping to accomplish with these strategic hints of familial outreach? Is it really about family, or is it more about the power she gets from keeping everyone, even the king, waiting at the proverbial door? To some, it seems her goal isn't connection, but rather ensuring that every bit of royal access flows through her, like she set herself up as the gatekeeper of a throne room that exists purely in her mind. Watching him in this setup, it's hard not to think of him as little more than a pawn, a prop in Meghan's very public game of keeping her critics guessing. Just when you think the plot has hit its peak, we're hit with the latest curious development rumors of European property, ostensibly for easier family visits. One almost wonders if Meghan is adding locations to her life. It's like set pieces to a stage, each one strategically positioned to suit her next move. After all, Portugal could provide the perfect stage for those oh-so-rare glimpses of Archie and Lilibet, conveniently far from any prying royal eyes in the UK. For someone who cries security concerns, this conveniently remote base sounds less like a family retreat and more like another place to control her image on her terms. Who knows if the whole thing is even real? This wouldn't be the first time the Sussex has spun a narrative out of thin air only to shift the story. The minute public interest flags. And yet, even amid all this posturing, a curious silence remains from the palace. It's as if the royal family is standing back watching this self-made spectacle unfold with the same amusement as the rest of us. But if Meghan and Harry expected their calculated revelations and PR strategies to send shockwaves through the palace, they might be sorely disappointed, far from causing a stir. Their constant bid for attention has begun to feel like white noise, loud, repetitive, and ultimately empty. However, the deeper irony here is the image Meghan appears to be building for herself, one of fierce independence, of control, of power over the narrative. The reality, she's caught up in a frenzy of her own, making a spectacle where every move. Every offer and every statement seems less about genuine family connection and more about maintaining her precarious grip on the public's attention. There's a kind of poetic justice in the fact that while she strives so hard to manipulate her image, each move only draws attention to the artifice beneath. Then, of course, there's the curious mystery surrounding Archie and Lilibet's elusive public presence. For children supposedly at the center of their mother's concerns, they seem to exist more as concepts than as people. Meghan's insistence on protection feels increasingly hollow when these kids are rarely seen and hardly spoken of outside the context of her own interests. They make appearances on her terms alone, with the vague aura of characters from a fairy tale who show up only to serve the story's next twist. Even when they are seen, it's through an almost mythical veil, as if Meghan wants the public to believe in their existence without ever truly proving it. And it doesn't stop there. Meghan's claims of security concerns add an almost laughable layer to the mystery. These elusive children are apparently in such peril that they can hardly be seen, and yet we are led to believe that this same mother is willing to dangle them as potential future royals whenever it suits her narrative. It's as if she wants to capitalize on the allure of royalty without ever having to engage with it on its own terms. So which is it, a quest for privacy or a carefully controlled bid for relevance? The inconsistency only strengthens the suspicion that security here has less to do with the children's safety and more to do with safeguarding Meghan's own carefully spun narrative. And let's not forget the veiled hints. She drops about family connections and heritage, as if these notions alone can command respect from the royal family and the public alike. In a world where actions speak louder than words, Meghan seems to be working overtime to ensure that her words, her version of the story, drown everything else. But with each calculated revelation, the depth of her manipulations grows clearer and her critics see through the shiny veneer. As we witness this ongoing drama, one has to wonder where Harry stands in all this. In an age where he could redefine himself outside of any royal narrative, he seems to have willingly allowed himself to be cast in a supporting role in Meghan's leading act, and with each new chapter of this saga, it's as if he's fading further into the background. His own voice overshadowed by the louder, more orchestrated performance around him, and even the very real relationships that could have grounded them both. In her world, there are no genuine connections, only calculated interactions designed to serve the next story, the next headline, and the next move on her PR chessboard. The children she claims to protect have become tools in her arsenal. Meanwhile, the royal family waits, perhaps with patience, perhaps with something akin to indifference, as Meghan and Harry spin further into their own web. If this spectacle has taught us anything, it's that sometimes the most powerful statement is silence, and in this case, the palace's silence speaks volumes. While Meghan orchestrates her dramas, the royal family simply continues on, seemingly undeterred by the noise that surrounds them. The SGA surrounding Meghan Markle and Harry, drenched in drama and manipulation, has left many spectators wondering if they're witnessing a royal tale or an elaborate publicity stunt. It's hard not to feel a bit of fatigue from Meghan's relentless pursuit of control over every aspect of her and her family's public image. In a move that appears more strategic than heartfelt, she keeps Archie and Lilibet almost hidden, emerging just enough to stoke public interest without ever truly providing transparency. This meticulously controlled exposure seems less about protecting her children's privacy and more about constructing an image of mystery and exclusivity designed to keep the spotlight focused firmly on her. It's impossible to ignore the stark contrast between Meghan's approach and that of Catherine as of Wales, where Catherine displays warmth and authenticity. Meghan's every move feels calculated, as though each step is a scene in the Meghan show crafted to support the narrative of her choosing. Look at how Catherine and William have shared glimpses into the lives of their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. There's a genuine, almost refreshing simplicity in these moments. Catherine's children appeared joyful and free, embodying a balance between the charm of royalty and the innocence of childhood. Unlike Meghan's children, who are rarely seen and whose brief appearances are often shrouded in orchestrated mystery, Catherine's children exude an effortless relatability. Every time we catch a glimpse of George, Charlotte, or Louis, we see children being allowed to simply be children. They're often captured in candid, joyful moments that remind us they're part of a family, not props in some strategic game. Meghan, on the other hand, seems to have adopted an entirely different tactic with Archie and Lilibet. They're the invisible royals, conveniently sheltered from the public eye under the guise of security concerns. But if it were truly about privacy, would we see Meghan parading their names in media stunts? Whenever she feels it suits her, it feels like these children are little more than pawns. In Meghan's elaborate game, existing primarily to add weight to her never-ending list of grievances and demands, and then there's the matter of Meghan's endless narrative building, as if every chapter of her life must be edited, curated, and presented as part of her carefully crafted image. Her public statements, carefully chosen leaks, and selective appearances all serve to keep her at the center of attention, where she seems to thrive. Even her so-called offers to allow King Charles to meet his grandchildren come with strings attached, as if she's offering him access to some exclusive club. It's almost comical how she positions herself as the gatekeeper to the children's royal connection, only accessible under her term. Of course, meanwhile, the rest of the royal family maintains a dignified silence, unwilling to engage in the spectacle. Meghan seems so eager to perpetuate Meghan's determination to control the narrative around her children. Her marriage and her own identity has reached a point where it's hard to know where the real Meghan ends and the character she's crafted begins. Each move feels so calculated, so carefully choreographed, that it's difficult to believe there's any genuine authenticity left in her mind. Perhaps she's managed to elevate herself and her children into a realm of near mythical status, an exclusive club accessible only through her. But for those watching, it's clear that this self-styled privacy is nothing more than a smokescreen for her own need to maintain control over every facet of her life. It's in this relentless quest for control that Meghan's behavior feels almost ironic. She positions herself as the protector of her children's privacy, yet she's the one who ensures their names and potential appearances are constantly swirling in the media, carefully rationed out as part of her ongoing media strategy. The secrecy surrounding Archie and Lilibet, with appearances as rare as unicorn sightings, feels less about genuine privacy concerns and more about creating a sense of exclusivity, as if these children are some hidden treasure only Meghan can unveil. And let's be honest, it's a rather peculiar way to protect children if the main result is to leave everyone guessing about their existence or relationship to the royal family. The drama and mystery she's manufactured around them almost undermine the very notion of privacy she claims to cherish. Comparatively, Catherine and William seem to take a refreshingly grounded approach to raising their children. They strike a balance that allows the public to see George, Charlotte, and Louis as part of the royal family, but also as individuals with distinct personalities and unique unfiltered moments. Their children are seen at public events interacting naturally with their family and sharing moments that feel authentic and genuine. It's the kind of normalcy that resonates with the public, providing a sense of connection to the royal family that Meghan seems incapable of replicating with her own children. Instead, Archie and Lilibet are shrouded in secrecy, their infrequent appearances marked by an almost eerie sense of choreography, as if they're characters in some larger-than-life drama orchestrated by their mother. What's most ironic is that the very institution Meghan has criticized so fiercely, the royal family, is the one demonstrating a level of authenticity and transparency that she, despite all her claims to freedom and authenticity, has yet to match. Catherine's openness in sharing small candid moments of her children's lives highlights just how out of touch Meghan's strategy appears. The royal family doesn't rely on mystery or manipulation to maintain their relevance. Their genuine connection with the public speaks for itself. Meghan, meanwhile, seems to be waging a one-woman PR war, with her children as her most valuable assets used selectively, whenever she needs to remind the world of her connection to the royal family. Meghan's approach to motherhood, at least from the public's perspective, feels more like a means to an end than an actual journey of raising children. When Archie and Lilibet are mentioned, it's often in the context of Meghan's grievances or as leverage in her dealings with the royal family. It's as if their very existence is secondary to the role they play in Meghan's endless crusade for control and validation. Her willingness to use her children as a shield, a bargaining chip, or a PR tool reveals a level of calculation that's hard to ignore. At this point, it's hard not to question Meghan's true intentions. Does she genuinely seek privacy, or is this all part of her larger plan to maintain relevance in the media? She criticizes the royal family for their supposed lack of compassion, yet her own actions reveal a level of detachment that feels almost clinical. For someone who claims to be all about family values, Meghan's actions suggest a different reality, one where her children's visibility is rationed out as strategically as her own public statements, a chess piece she moves at her discretion. One can't help but feel a pang of empathy for Harry in this situation. Once a lively and engaging member of the royal family, he now seems reduced to a secondary role, a mere figure in Meghan's meticulously controlled narrative. It's as if he's faded into the background. His voice overshadowed by Meghan's relentless self-promotion, he appears to be a man caught in the orbit of someone who's constantly seeking the limelight, even as she professes to desire the exact opposite. Meanwhile, the royal family, particularly Catherine and William, continues to exemplify the very qualities Meghan appears to disdain. Their children are symbols of hope, continuity, and genuine connection. They are allowed to be children and live with the freedom and joy that come from being raised with love, not as tools in a calculated strategy for public sympathy. In Catherine and William's children, we see glimpses of what it means to be royal, yet grounded. Influential, yet accessible, George, Charlotte, and Louis are the embodiment of a balanced approach to royalty, blending tradition with modernity in a way that feels genuine, refreshing, and authentic. As for Meghan, she may believe that her approach grants her control and autonomy, but it's increasingly clear that her tactics are alienating her from the public. She so desperately tries to captivate in her endless quest to control her image. She has crafted a narrative so polished, so meticulously staged, that it has lost all semblance of relatability. Her children are not symbols of continuity or legacy. They are carefully crafted elements in her ongoing performance. Ultimately, Meghan's attempts to shape her children's public image stand in stark contrast to the down-to-earth approach demonstrated by Catherine, where one mother sees her children as a bridge to connect with the public. The other seems to use them as a means to manipulate and maintain control. In the end, the question remains which approach will leave a more lasting legacy. For Meghan, her fixation on crafting an image of exclusivity and control may well backfire as the public grows weary of her relentless narrative. Will Meghan's tactics withstand the test of time, or will authenticity ultimately prevail? If you are invested in following the stories behind the headlines, stay tuned because in the end, truth always has a way of emerging. Let's keep watching as the public ultimately holds the power to shape this narrative. If you are curious to see where this all leads, don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates and insights into royal life and its many layers.